Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of the Ross Rundown. I'm your host, Matt Harrelson, alongside with me, Brand Fall. And Brand, I would ask you if you had a good week, but I know that we did.
I love the shirt.
Yes.
Awesome.
Usually I'm not this stressed down, but as you mentioned, it's our show. We can do what we want. So I'm rocking the Carolina Blue. Of course, let's start right there. Big win Wednesday night.
Great.
UNC versus Duke. 88-72. North Carolina coming in as number 8. Duke number 1, so upset the number 1 team. So what were your first thoughts about that huge victory?
I tell you what, my son and I talk about this stuff all the time, and he asked me what I thought, and I said for Carolina to have a chance, they've got to knock down 9 or 10 threes.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen, and White played horribly.
Yeah.
And they still won. Of course, Zion Williamson played a huge part, but it was incredible to see them just keep finding a way to get the ball inside. And Cameron Johnson and Luke May were just outstanding.
Absolutely. Luke May with 30 points and 15 rebounds.
Yep.
Cam Johnson, by the way, 26 points.
Yeah.
And, I feel like...
Maybe their best player.
Absolutely, yeah. All-around player as well. I feel like, look, Luke May came into the year as a preseason All-American. I feel like he's kind of disappeared a little bit.
I agree with that.
So I was happy to see him have a really good game. On the other side, R.J. Barrett for Duke, 33 points, 13 rebounds. Cam Reddish, 27 points. Obviously, Zion Williamson not being there made a difference. Got hurt within the first minute. What was your take quickly on his shoe exploding?
I was like, that didn't just happen, did it? My wife and my son and I were all sitting there watching the game, and it was just surreal to see that. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in all my years of watching college basketball.
I don't either.
It's amazing.
And I had a friend of mine that posted on Facebook that it was a joke, obviously, but he says that UNC had a deep operative at the Nike facility having those shoes ready to go. Zion Williamson's like 6'8", 260. Wears a size 13. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah. And, nobody else on the sideline, I know Billis will say, if anybody else got his size shoe, they'll be taking it off of him, getting him back in the game. But obviously it was a lot more than just a shoe when his knee went out. So I did hate it for him that he got hurt. I really did.
But speaking of him, now obviously if he would have played in the game, it would have perhaps made a big difference in the outcome. However, Carolina was able to take advantage of his lack of presence in the paint. Let's say that Zion was able to play. Do you think that him not being there was the lone contributing factor to Carolina winning, or do you think if he had played, Carolina still would have been on top?
Well, I think as well as Carolina moved the ball, they still had a chance. Obviously, they wouldn't have won by 16 points, and I doubt Luke May drops 30 if Zion Williamson is in the game.
Right.
However, their ball movement was great last night. They passed the ball. At one point, they had 18 or 19 assists. So they were assisting on a lot of their baskets and just getting a lot of easy layups. And really, surprisingly, from a Krzyzewski team, they showed a lack of defensive toughness just to let Carolina beat them to the punch a lot of times.
After Wednesday night's win, that moves Carolina up to 21-5 overall, drops Duke down to 23-3. Yeah. Now, look, Duke's still one of the best teams in the country. I think there's no doubt about that. But this pulls Carolina back to within Duke in the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know a couple weeks ago it looked as perhaps it was going to be, either Duke or maybe Virginia. Carolina kind of on the outside a little bit. But now, who do you think's going to pull away?
I think it's fair game for anybody now, depending on how serious this is for Williamson. Now it'll be an entirely different thing come Saturday because Krzyzewski will have 2 days to prepare. Will have had 2 days to prepare for the Saturday game without. But when it happened 30 seconds into the game, they had a hard time adjusting. But now I think this is anybody's race. I mean, because Carolina wins the rest of their. Let's say they win the rest of their games, and even if they lose to Duke, they're still right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think. Beating the number 1 team at their house, first of all.
Amazing win.
At this point, look, I know Carolina's got 5 losses. However, those are, for the most part, 5 good losses, if you will. After beating Duke, is there a chance Carolina could find themselves on the 1 line come March?
Absolutely. Especially if they beat Duke in the rematch in Chapel Hill in a month or a couple weeks, whenever it is. And depending on how they do in the rest of their ACC schedule, I think, there have been teams with 4 or 5 losses before getting number 1 seeds. I mean, Duke's got 3 losses.
Yeah.
And they're still considered number 1 seed today, depending on what happens with Williamson.
Yeah, and UNC again. I feel like has a good chance of being up there. They've got a win over Gonzaga, who's another one of those top teams.
Win.
Now, of course, as I mentioned, they've got a couple losses that I wish they could have back, but it's not unprecedented for a 5-loss team to be on the 1 line, especially after playing UNC's type of schedule. Moving forward, though. Hopefully UNC will be good enough to perhaps win the ACC tournament, one of those two or both. But looking at Duke, we don't really know how long Zion's going to be out for. I don't want to say is their season tanked, but R.J. Barrett, one of their better players, came out and said, "Look, Zion's our energy."
Yeah, I read that.
It took us, the rest of the game. They played a little better towards the end, but with that quote unquote energy being zapped out of the building, I mean, Duke's season's not over, is it?
No, I don't think they're over. I mean, Krzyzewski's one of the best all-time coaches, if not the best all-time coach, and he will rally the troops.
Yeah.
And I think of course, have you read all the things after the game, the night of the game and the day after the game? I mean, you can find 100 different opinions on what Williamson should do with his rest of his year.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't come back, it's going to be tough.
Right.
If he decides to shut it down. But if he's back, they're right there.
The way I look at it is, coming out of high school last year, 1, 2, and 3 in the country was R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, and Cam Reddish, and all three of them are at Duke. The point I'm making is, even though Zion's not there, you still have two of the best high school, now college players in the country.
Yes.
But you brought something up I want to ask you before we move on. Zion, more than likely going to be the number 1 pick coming out of the NBA draft.
Yep,
I think that pretty much goes without saying. Should he shut it down? Because, I mean, we've heard talks about, these kind of things where if you're such a sure thing, should he have even played this year,
Well, the Carolina fan in me says shut it down.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you again.
Right there with you on that one.
Go to the Hornets next year.
He won't make it to the Hornets.
But all kidding aside, I saw where Jalen Rose said he did not think Zion should shut it down, should finish what he started. I tend to lean that way. Once you made the commitment for the year to Duke, I think he should play it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if he will, but that's just my opinion.
And I mean, obviously, I don't know Zion Williamson, but I get the feeling that he is a competitor through and through, and because of that, I think he's going to want to finish out the season and finish what they've started. And of course, they have the goal that Carolina and so many other teams in the country do is to win a national championship.
That's right. And I think that's the whole reason he did his 1 year at a program like Duke, because he thought he'd have a chance to win a championship.
Absolutely.
And he's still got a chance if he comes back.
Yeah, especially with those other top players around him. So, now, of course, I do want to say, I apologize to the Carolina fans because this time last week I projected a UNC loss.
That's right.
So I was wrong, but I win either way because if Duke had won, my prediction was right. If Carolina wins, it's still good for me.
A win.
So I do have to say, the thing I've been saying all week is when we go to their house, it seemed like they beat us and vice versa.
You said that on this show last week. You sure did.
And that's actually been the mantra over the last 6 times we've gone to Durham. They beat us 5 of those times. So I didn't just pluck that out of thin air.
And Krzyzewski's 4 worst home losses are all to Carolina.
Well, that makes sense because you can literally throw everything out the window when it comes to UNC.
Just 2 quality teams going at each other. I don't think venue matters much. And it was a great atmosphere there last night. I would have loved to have been there.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, tickets got up to like $2,500.
Wow.
The president was there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Former president.
I wonder if he paid.
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. He looked kind of cool though. He had the bomber jacket on with 44 on.
I mean, he had a nice little lefty stroke when he was in the White House. So I don't, Carolina could have used him from the 3-point line.
Obama can ball. That's for sure.
They couldn't hit a shot from outside last night.
And when he was president, he used to do his March Madness brackets and release it. And there was a few times where he picked Carolina.
That's right, he did.
So of course it wasn't a dumb pick, but
no.
Anyway. Let's move on. Of course, when we come back next week, hopefully we'll have another couple of UNC victories under our belt, including one that I'm going to tomorrow, Saturday, Syracuse game.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That'd be a great win.
Hopefully.
It's a great game.
Hopefully, as I've said before, my buddy Chris and I, we've been to 7 or 8 years in a row. They've never lost.
Oh, that's awesome.
So hopefully we'll keep the streak going. Keep that going. But keeping with the basketball theme here, of course, the NBA All-Star Weekend wrapped up last weekend here in the Carolinas in Charlotte. All in all, I think it went pretty well. Of course, Team LeBron, I was almost close on the score. Team LeBron came back from like 20-something points. Ended up winning 178 to 164 over Team Giannis.
Quality defense.
No defense whatsoever. Kevin Durant ends up getting the MVP, as we know now. 31 points, 7 rebounds. He was very close. I think he had 6 assists. He was close to a triple-double there.
James Harden was defensive player of the game, I believe.
Yes, he was. And that's all you need to know about the defense being played there. Steph Curry, though, was 4 of 17 from three-point land. He also had a dunk, though, which to me made up for all of that.
That's right. When's he dunking the ball? That's awesome.
So, I mean, obviously, look, as we said last week, this game doesn't mean a single thing. It was basically nobody wanted to get hurt. There's no defense played. So the outcome of this game doesn't really matter, and I hate to say that, but it's the truth. A couple things.
Dirk and D-Wade were cool.
Yes. A couple things I wanted to take away, and that was one of them. This could perhaps be Dirk Nowitzki's last All-Star game. Real quick, in one sentence, Dirk Nowitzki's career.
Hall of Fame. I mean, just game-changing for the NBA.
Yeah.
What he did.
I completely agree. He was the first wave, if you will, of European players coming over and has completely changed the way the game is played. And he was the pioneer of that, if you will. Mm-hmm. Also, D-Wade could perhaps be the last time we see him at an All-Star game. So what do you think about his career?
Also
overall?
Hall of Fame. Just great competitor.
Yeah.
Love to watch D-Wade play. I mean, always competes hard every night, no matter if the team's in first place or last place.
Yes, he does. And I was glad to see Miami sign him back for just a couple of years because he had to finish his career.
Oh, yeah,
with
without
the Heat,
a doubt.
Right? So,
I mean, you think Miami Heat, you think Dwayne Wade.
Exactly. And before that, I thought Alonzo Mourning.
That's right.
Or Glenn Rice.
That's right.
Also, 2 former Charlotte Hornets.
That's right.
But a couple of other things that I took away from All-Star Weekend that I want to get your opinion on. During the Celebrity All-Star game, they had this thing. I did too. But they had this thing that was the 4-point line.
Oh, like the Globetrotters.
Yeah, kind of. And you could use it throughout the entire game for the celebrity game. But what is your opinion of potentially bringing in a 4-point line in an NBA game? Now, it wouldn't be used throughout the entire game. There could be things where perhaps fans get to vote on when it would be implemented, or each team gets a certain amount of time during the game, and they could say to the ref when their time wants to start. Is this too much fantasy, or is this something that could actually work?
Yeah, I'm too much of a traditionalist to say yes right now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened down the road.
Yeah. And I mean, the NBA is always looking for ways to make people want to tune in.
And they really have got a great model for the fans, too.
Yeah.
The NBA does. They do a great show if you go to an NBA game.
Absolutely. And, 4-point line to me is a little hokey.
Yeah.
But, more points equals more butts in the seats usually. Mm-hmm. And the NBA, I think, would at least take a legit look at it. Also, something that happened over the weekend, Adam Silver, the commissioner for the NBA, unveiled the Jersey of the Future. Now, I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I did not.
They are regular-looking jerseys. However, I don't even know how to describe it. The front and back are almost, I don't want to call them holograms, but they're digital, to where I could click a button and change the entire complexity of your uniform, from the color of it, the team name, the number on it, the name on the back. You can all do it with a click of a button. What do you think about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like space age.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what the practicality of it is.
Yeah, I don't know what you
cool.
do with that.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it'd be an easy way to cheat a little bit.
That's right.
But it was pretty cool looking. So, but now that the All-Star game is finished, I know it's not technically the halfway point, but it's the unofficial halfway point of the NBA season. Pretty much like we all thought, the Warriors are in first place in the West.
Right where they should be.
Not so much as we thought the Bucks first place in the East.
That is surprising, yeah.
So let's just real quick hit the West. Is it the Warriors to lose as it has been every other year?
It still is, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody that's got a chance at upsetting them?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think they're gonna. I think it's theirs to run away with.
Yeah, maybe the Rockets, but again, the Rockets don't play a lick of defense.
No.
Now they can score with you.
If they have a 7-game series where they outscore you, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But you have to play defense in the playoffs.
A little
It's
bit.
the only time that you play defense.
You got to be able to lock somebody down, and the Rockets have not shown that.
And then as far as records, the Denver Nuggets actually are second in the West. Now, they're a good team, but I don't see them hanging with Golden State whatsoever.
I don't think there's anybody in the West that's got the talent to hang with them.
Now, let's talk about the East, because as we know, LeBron went to the West Coast. Of course, the Lakers, by the way, sitting right under 500.
That's right, 10th place.
I know that he's been hurt a lot, but real quick, going back to the West, the Lakers, they have a shot at maybe making the playoffs?
I heard they've got 25 games left. They'd have to win 16 or 17 of them is what they're projecting.
That's tall order.
That's going to be tough, but if LeBron stays healthy, anything's possible with him. I mean, when's the last time he missed a playoff? His second year in the league? So if he stays healthy, they've got a legitimate shot.
When LeBron signed with the Lakers, I can't even remember now how many years it was for, but I said to myself, if they don't, depending on what they did in the rest of the offseason, of course, they weren't able to get anybody, including Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I said this year is more about him getting acclimated with the younger players. They've got some money to spend over the summer. Obviously, guys are going to want to go to L.A. and play with LeBron. Next year is the year where I think they contend.
I think they're a contender next year. I do. I don't think Magic Johnson will blow free agency next year. I really don't.
No. But with all that being said, of course, he left Cleveland. Cleveland stinks this year.
Yep.
So they're not even in the playoff picture. But from the East, we've got the Bucks who are killing it. Giannis Antetokounmpo, again, I've said it once, is the future of the NBA.
He's a great player.
You still got the Boston Celtics who are there. You've got the Toronto Raptors who are still there now with Kawhi Leonard. The Pacers having another good season. Who do you think comes out of the East?
Well, I think the 76ers have a shot.
So I didn't even mention the Sixers. I rode that bandwagon all year.
I think 76ers have a real legitimate shot to come out the East and win the whole thing.
Yeah. Out of all those teams, though, do any of them hang with the Warriors after it's all said and done?
Barring injury, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I hate to say that because it seems like the Warriors have literally just dominated.
They've got an all-star team over there.
Yeah, it's like if you don't like it, somebody needs to go out and beat them. However, the Warriors are not going to be able to keep this squad together for much longer.
Matter of fact, I think this might be their last run with the current look of their roster.
Very well could be. So, anyway, that's going to do it for basketball talk. We're keeping the segment short this week. So, with that being said, let's head and do our big impacts of the week, which are, of course, brought to you by Richmond Community College, whose motto is local college, big impact. Who you got this week?
I got Caleb Hood, had 14 points in upset over Pinecrest this week in the second round of the conference tournament. Great game for him. Great game for the Raiders. Road win in Pinecrest is tough.
Absolutely.
So,
good win. That was an upset in every sense of the word. Later on tonight, they're going to be playing 71st at their house, who's the number 1 seed.
That's right.
Hopefully they were able to get the W.
That's right.
And Dion was telling me earlier today that the top 16 seeds get a home game. As of right now, the Raiders are 17th.
Yep.
So if they can somehow upset 71st, and we've already seen them.
State playoff game.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
and that'd be
awesome.
That'd be great, especially all of this considering they started 0-4 in the conference.
And Raider Gym, when it's full for a big game, it's a great atmosphere to go to a high school basketball game. It really is.
It was pretty hopping last week when we were all there.
That's right.
My big impact of the week, keeping it at the local level, former Richmond Raider football players Tavion Ellerby and Rasheed Patrick, both defensive players, have decided to sign their national letters of intent and continue their football careers at Louisburg College, a junior college just outside of Raleigh. So
that's awesome. I mean, a lot of Raiders starting to sign.
Yeah.
Big things to come for that Raider program.
And I know that, we haven't really seen anyone sign with a big major D1 program, but with the flip side of that, we've seen a dozen players at least signed with football programs.
That's right, and they're continuing their education because, even the ones that go D1, it's a very small percentage of those guys that actually go into the NFL.
Correct.
And they're getting a chance to go continue their education and play a game they love while they do it.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome.
Congratulations to those two guys. They'll only be there for 2 years because it's junior college, but you never know. If they play good enough, maybe they could end up in a D1
That's
school.
right.
So, all right, enough of Big Impact. Of course, we appreciate Richmond Community College for being the sponsor on that, but let's head to Love It or Hate It and finish up the same way we do. And I've got a bunch of them this week. So, I don't know. I'll do them out of order here. Clemson's Dabo Swinney, talking about Zion Williamson, says that he thinks Duke's Zion Williamson could play football and could even play quarterback for Clemson. Love it or hate it?
Hate it. I disagree.
Do you?
Nah, did he play football in high school?
He did not, but that's only because the high school he went to didn't offer football.
Okay, well, maybe.
Believe it or not.
Maybe.
But he's 6'8", 260.
I can't see him as a quarterback. I see him as a tight end.
Yeah, I can see him as a tight end.
That big body, he'd box you out. You're not getting around him to not to pass away.
I could see him as maybe a safety, too, something like that. Although, the way the quarterback game is being played these days, perhaps he could be good at it. So
he's strong enough.
Yeah. I'm actually going to say love it on that one. But going forward here, golf pro Ben DeArmond found the water 6 times on the Web.com tour, making a 17 on a par 4 second hole. Love it or hate it?
I love it. That means there's hope for me.
Yes. Even the pros have a bad hole every once in a while.
That's right.
He channeled his inner tin cup.
That's right.
As you will. So I love that one as well.
Great movie, by the way. What a great reference.
Absolutely. Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has invested $250 million in the Alliance of American Football League, the AAF. Love it or hate it.
I saw that. I love it. I mean, if you've got it to spend, why not?
Yeah, why not? It does make me worry, however, that the AAF is already hemorrhaging money. So it makes me wonder how long they'll be able to stick around.
The one thing I like that they've done is they've limited the contracts to 3 years, $250,000 contracts.
Okay.
So they tried to get Kaepernick and Tebow. Tebow just flat declined them, and Kaepernick said, "Give me $20 million."
Yeah.
And so they didn't take the bait and go spend money they didn't have to try to get a name.
You must have been reading my mind, because my next one is Tim Tebow says the AAF won't stop calling him. Love it or hate it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Spurrier's wearing him out.
You think maybe he's more thinking about playing baseball than he is?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think he's realized football is not in the cards for him.
Yeah.
And so the AAF, I mean, if he goes chases that and it's bankrupt in a year, then everything's shot for him.
True, and he's wasted a year
That's
of his athletic prime.
He's too old to be going back and forth.
One more here with the AAF. Steve Spurrier, who is one of the coaches, says that the San Antonio Commanders crowd was louder than Rocky Top has ever been.
Wow, Spurrier's still in this mode. I love
trolling
it.
him. Still trolling
I love it. You know what he said about Peyton Manning was he was glad Peyton Manning was coming back because you couldn't spell Citrus Bowl without UT. I mean, so he's still trolling Tennessee all these years later. I love it. The old ball coach is awesome.
Old ball coach. And this isn't a love it or hate it, but before we move on, regarding the AAF, which one do you think is more of a feeder program to the NFL? That or college?
It sounds like the AAF is going to be, because there's a lot of guys in the NFL. I mean, have been in with Trent Richardson, Gavin Escobar from the Cowboys, a lot of guys. It looks like this is what they're using as their avenue to try to get back.
Let me ask you this as a follow-up. Obviously, if you go and play college football and you're someone that's trying to get to the pros, you have to play at least, 3 years?
3 years out of high school before you can go to.
Do you think we'll start seeing scenarios where some of the top-rated guys forego college to go play in the AAF so they can go to the NFL a year early?
I hadn't thought about that, because the AAF probably doesn't have a rule in place.
I seriously doubt it.
And they could take these guys right out of high school and say, okay, you can go to college, or we can pay you $80,000 a year for a part-time job.
And if they're big enough names, they're going to want them, right?
That's right. So I could see that happening.
Something to think about.
Yep.
Let's move over to baseball, because I got quite a few here. Obviously, one of the biggest news stories for MLB was Manny Machado and the San Diego Padres reaching a 10-year, $300 million deal. Love it or hate it?
I love it. Not so much because I'm a big Manny Machado fan, but that just means all the free agency now is going to shake out. And we can start to see the players go where they should, and we can get on with baseball.
Exactly. This was the first domino to tip, right?
That's right. It'll move quickly now, I hope.
Did it surprise you that, and I say only, but that he only got $300 million?
No, only because the last offer I heard was from the White Sox for $175 million.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like they were trying to break Machado and Harper and not sign them. So I think once he got the offer up to $300 million, he was signing. I mean, it's $30 million a year.
It is. However, that's not the highest per year out of the league. There's several guys making more than that. That's what surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, and Machado's better than a lot of them probably. But
he is. And I know, like Kershaw, for instance, he makes $33 million a year.
Love Kershaw, by the way. Yeah. However, he's not worth that anymore.
No, he's not. Machado came out and said, "I'm pretty much going to go to the highest bidder." Him signing with the Padres. Now look, playing in San Diego, you could do a lot worse weather-wise. San Diego, perhaps not quite there, though, as a contender, but real quick, the future. I mean, they've got the top-rated farm system. Now they got Manny Machado there. I mean, should teams in the West be looking out now?
I think not this year for sure, but within a year or two maybe.
Okay.
Just see how the farm system plays out. And Machado's there for the long haul, obviously, for a 10-year contract.
Yes, he is.
So they get some pitching.
Yeah. And I think, look, if they've got this kind of money to spend, maybe they've got money to spend somewhere else.
Put bats around him too,
yeah. Sticking with baseball, Bruce Bochy finally going to retire after the 2019 season. Love it or hate it?
Love it. You don't know this about me. I'm a Braves fan, but I grew up in the 80s as a Dodgers fan when I was a little boy. And so I know all the rivalries and grew up hating the Giants because of the rivalry. But Bochy's a class act, won 3 World Series, I think, for the Giants. Class act all the way around. Been a good coach.
There are 10 managers in MLB history to win 3 or more World Series, and the other 9 are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
First ballot in my book.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
He was a coach for the Padres at one point, wasn't he?
I think so, and I remember him when he played.
Yeah, see, that was a little before
Yeah, I
my
know.
time. But 19 seasons, I think he's been in
Yeah.
the league. 20
Yeah.
seasons at the helm.
That's
so
awesome.
Congratulations to him. I think it's due.
Yeah.
To me, Bochy is one of the old school guys.
That's
one
right.
of the few left, really.
That's right.
Because now you see teams looking for that next young guy that
Yeah.
really has no experience, and they thrust him into the hot seat.
Yeah.
And some guys do well with it, some don't. But Bochy, I feel, is a callback.
Yeah, he
for
is.
some reason, the first name that came to mind when I read this, I thought of Jim Leland for some reason.
I see that.
I don't know why.
Jim Leland was an old school guy for
Yeah.
sure.
Smoked
I mean,
cigarettes in the-
it's
in the dugout.
smoking cigarettes
Yeah.
with the Pirates. I mean, I still never forget that.
Absolutely. I don't know why. It just made me think of that, and it made me pine for the old days
I
of
might
baseball.
go home and watch Major League on demand tonight.
There you go. There you go. Just a bit outside.
Yeah, just a bit.
Sticking with baseball again, CC Sabathia announcing he's going to retire after the 2019 season. Love it or hate it?
Love it. Man, I'm not a Yankees guy. Is he with the Yankees this year?
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I assumed
He signed
came back.
another one-year
Okay,
deal.
I assumed he came back to the Yankees, but not a big Yankees guy, but I like Sabathia.
Yeah.
Been a competitor for a long time. I look at him and I see John Kruk. I know added John Kruk.
I think David Wells.
That's right. John Kruk got approached by a person in a restaurant one time because he was smoking a cigarette, and the lady said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're a pro athlete." And he said, "I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player."
Yeah, exactly.
And so Sabathia is just a ball player.
I agree. And it also makes
Yeah.
me think of Bartolo Colon. Where
That's
it's like
right.
The
I
most
love
out of
Bart-
shape
that's
dude.
right. There's
but
hope.
I remember Sabathia came up as a Cleveland Indian.
That's right.
I remember that.
Dominant too.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
there was that one year where the Brewers traded for him, and I think he was with them for just that half season, and he completely turned around their season.
Yep.
Of course, that was when CC was in his prime.
Uh-huh.
But Hall of Famer?
Yes, I think so.
You think so?
You got 250 wins.
Is he up that high?
Somewhere along there. Judging by today's standards, some of the ones I let in, I think so.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I had to think about it, which usually
Would you use as your sign for no?
usually means no, but he's one of those guys that I feel like is right there, and I'd like to go and look at his
Yeah.
numbers and see
Uh-huh.
where he'd match up compared to some
If
of
he
the other
finishes
guys.
strong this year, I think that'll certainly help his case.
Yeah, absolutely. Got some more baseball. Mike
All right.
Moustakas. See, we need to see some of these other dominoes
Yeah.
falling. He's
Yeah.
re-signed with the Brewers. Love it or hate it.
Love it. Stay right there with Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. Milwaukee, I think, is going to be a team to reckon with.
That's right.
The NL Central is going to be tough
That's
next
gonna
year.
be, yes, it is.
Cardinals have improved.
Uh-huh.
The Cubs are still the Cubs. You've got the Brewers. They actually won it last
Yep.
year. The Pirates should be around 500. It's going to be a
Yeah,
tough.
it'll be a good
The
division.
Reds have gotten better.
Oh yeah, the Reds got Puig. I'm not a
Yeah.
huge Puig fan, but the Reds have certainly made some moves to try to get better.
Absolutely. Traded and signed Sonny Gray too.
That's
so.
right.
Also in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies. Now that Manny signed,
That's the rumor.
they say that they may be willing to pay Bryce $300 million plus. Love it or hate it.
I hate it because I don't want him to go stay in the NL East.
Yeah.
But he's going to get it.
You think he'll beat Machado still?
He will. The rumor is the two agents for the two players don't like each other,
Right.
and both of them were kind of just playing poker, see which one will break and sign first.
Well, we know what that is.
And so I think Harper will get a deal somewhere to top it a little bit.
You know what my dad said? My dad is the reason I'm a huge Braves fan. And he said, you know what? I actually wouldn't mind if Bryce signed with the Phillies because, and I agree with what I'm about to say, what he said, that he thinks that the reason the Nationals underperformed last year was because of Bryce.
Really?
He thinks that at least last year, his impending free agency and
Was a
Bryce being a
distraction.
bit of a prima donna was a distraction and contributed to them missing the playoffs. And I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryce Harper is a 100% hustler when it comes to playing because he's not.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of times where he
That's
doesn't
right.
run out
Yeah.
fly balls or ground balls and stuff like that.
He has been prima donna-ish at some point.
Yeah, seen him
That's,
getting into. I wrote about this in one of my columns where he got in a fight with Hunter Strickland a
That's
few
right,
years
I
ago,
remember that.
and that happens. But he also got in a fight with Jonathan Papelbon, who was
That's
on
right.
his own team.
That's right.
It just makes me
Yeah.
wonder, perhaps if they do sign him,
Maybe he's not the best teammate in the world.
will he be a pariah for the Phillies? So.
Well, that wouldn't break my heart.
Me neither. Speaking of the Phillies, they have given Aaron Nola a 4-year, $45 million contract. Love it or hate it.
Well, by today's standards, that's not bad.
That's cheap.
That's right. I love
For
it.
what you get?
That's right.
Yeah, I love it for the Phillies because they got perhaps one of the best pitchers in the league for dirt
Yeah.
cheap.
I mean, that's good money.
I hate it for Nola though because I feel like he probably could have gotten a much better deal somewhere else.
I wonder if there's something we don't know about him or something. I mean,
don't know.
'cause that's surprising that that's all he got.
Yeah, maybe it's a quote unquote hometown deal, but
Yeah.
I mean that works out to be just over $11 million
Yeah.
a year. I mean you've got
I mean,
bench
that's
players
a
making
third.
that.
That's a third of what Kershaw makes.
Yeah, exactly. All right, got a few more here. Let's talk wrestling. Now, I know you're not the biggest
Yeah.
WWE fan, but D-Generation X is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Love it or hate it.
I guess I love it.
All right.
I don't. No opinion really.
Okay.
Good for them.
I'm going to say love it. Now, this is a group, I'm probably about to throw a bunch of names over your
Okay.
head, but consisted of originally Shawn Michaels,
I know Shawn Michaels, yeah.
Triple H,
I know Triple H.
and China.
Okay.
China.
I know all of them. Yeah.
Big China. Now, Shawn Michaels ended up getting hurt after his match with Stone Cold at WrestleMania. Hurt his back, was out for a while. Triple H said, all right, I'm taking over DX. So the DX that a lot of people know is him, China, the New Age Outlaws, the tag team of Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, and then X-Pac, who used to be Six, 1, 2, 3 Kid, Lightning Kid, had a bunch of different names. All of them are going in, though. Unfortunately, China passed away a few years ago. But I'm going to say love it because if you're closer to my age, of course, you're not that much older than me. But I remember the Attitude Era. That was the era that I grew up in. That was the era that DX made their name, pushed the envelope about as far as you could push it on cable television, and people ate it up. So well-deserving.
Good for them.
Of course, Triple H, Shawn Michaels in the Hall of Fame anyway.
Yeah,
Scottie Pippen says that LeBron doesn't have the clutch
that.
gene like Michael Jordan and Kobe. Love it or hate it.
I love it because I'm a Jordan guy. Now Pippen went on to say in those comments. I didn't know you were gonna bring that up. That's awesome. He went on to say in those comments that he wasn't saying LeBron was scared of the big shot and wouldn't take the big shot.
Yeah.
But I thought he made some valid points.
He did. And I love what he's saying. And I've heard Skip Bayless talk about this for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It does seem like there are some times, I feel like, not Kobe, LeBron's gotten away from this a little bit, but when it comes clutch time, MJ took that shot. Kobe took that shot. We've seen LeBron sometimes pass it
away
off
from it a little
to a
bit.
Kyrie or a Kevin Love or whoever, Dwayne Wade, whoever was on his team at the time. Now, look, LeBron is still one of the best players that has ever played the game.
Without a doubt. Love LeBron, no slam, but
yeah, but there is a quote-unquote clutch gene that you have to be that finisher. Now, look, I think in the halls of history, people forget that MJ, Kobe, they missed a lot of those shots too. I think people tend to forget
That's
that.
right. Jordan missed a lot of game-winning shots or game-tying
Maybe
shots.
missed more than he made.
That's right. But because he made so many and he wanted the ball every single time.
Exactly. And that's what you want from your top guy.
That's right.
And I feel like sometimes LeBron just doesn't do that.
That's right. I mean, I saw an interview. I saw one of those things this week when it was, I don't remember which year it was, with the Eastern Conference Finals, the Knicks pushed them to a 7th game.
Yeah.
And he said, in an interview about that series, Jordan said, I was the leader of that team. They were looking to me.
Yeah.
I was going to take over.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
I feel
sometimes
like
I think LeBron shies away from that a little bit.
almost to a fault with Kobe. Kobe can be triple teamed. He's
yeah,
still
that's
taking
right.
that
He's shooting
shot.
the ball, baby. I'm open.
And sometimes he makes it. So.
That's right.
But again, not a knock on LeBron. Still
That's
a
right.
great player, but
That's right.
you got to have that clutch gene,
right.
so to speak. Let's do a soccer one. Series C club, Pro Piacenza. Never heard of them. Probably never talk about it again. But they lost 20-0 with only 7 players last week. Love it or hate it.
Love it. Sounds like a Parks and Rec score from when I used to coach.
Yes, it does.
to get beat
Everybody
20-0.
got baby carrots.
That's right.
In juice boxes afterwards. Let's see. New Orleans Pelicans GM Dale Demps got fired. Love it or hate it.
Hate it for him.
Yeah.
I think he's being made a scapegoat here a little bit.
That's exactly what it is.
Somebody's head had to roll when the trade didn't happen. Magic Johnson came out and publicly called him out for not negotiating in good faith. So to save face a little bit, I felt like they just looked for a fall guy.
I agree 100%. It was either going to be him or maybe the coach. I don't know. But it wasn't going to be Anthony Davis,
right.
I can tell you that.
That's
so
right.
I agree with you 100% there. 3 more here, rather. Let's do one more for baseball / football. Ricky Henderson came out and said that Al Davis would have let him be a two-way player, but the A's nixed the deal.
Really?
Yeah, love it or hate it.
I love it. I loved Ricky Henderson. Do you
too.
remember Ricky?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. He was a great player. Now, he had some all-time classic quotes. We could do a whole show on Ricky Henderson on quotes, I know, but just not the brightest light in the hall, but he was a great athlete.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember Ricky. I remember when he broke Lou Brock's record and was a little arrogant about it, but I guess you can be.
I think that's when he
point.
was with the A's when he broke
It
that
was.
record.
It was. Stole second.
Yeah,
picked
that's
it
right.
up and, I feel like Ricky Henderson was one of the few athletes that could play baseball and football.
He had the power and the speed. He could lead. He probably still has the record for leadoff homers. I don't know if he does or not.
I don't know if he does. I think I'm not sure. Altuve's creeping up on him.
But for a long, I mean, it was not uncommon for him to see him start a game with a home run from the leadoff spot, and he stole probably 1,000 bases in his career, or 1,100.
There was one season he stole 50 bases or something, maybe more than that.
He had multiple seasons, way up there.
Ridiculously fast.
Awesome.
Always was able to get that first move,
and was not afraid to get caught.
No. I love Ricky Henderson. Scott Emerson is the A's pitching coach, and last spring, by the way, we're hoping to get in touch with Scott later on, probably next week, and have him send us some video and stuff from Scottsdale. But last year,
we should do a show from down there.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. God. Last year, Ricky Henderson was one of the instructors for them. So,
really?
And he loves Ricky. Ricky's his all-time favorite baseball player. And so I was like, Scott, have Ricky call me. I just want to talk to Ricky Henderson. Just say I did it.
Yeah. I mean, he was a character and just a great player.
Absolutely. Two more here. Colin Kaepernick back in the news. His lawyer, Mark Garagos, predicts that the QB could play for the Panthers this year. Love it or hate it.
I think he should be in the league if he's got the talent. I've gone on record here saying that many times, but I hate it. I can't stand agents getting involved trying to tell where where the players go. But
it's not even his agent; it's a lawyer.
A lawyer, I mean, a lawyer.
Same thing.
Yeah, a lawyer getting involved trying to tell teams, because I do think he would be a good fit with the Panthers.
Yeah.
I mean, his style of game would suit well, and he would be a good insurance policy to have for Newton.
And right now, we don't know that Cam's coming back.
So we don't know that for sure.
Of the year. Another team that was thrown out there that I think perhaps would work better for him is the Patriots.
I saw that.
I feel like the structure that Bill Belichick provides, they've had a few players that, I'm not saying Kaepernick is off the field a bad person, because he's not, but however, he does obviously bring a distraction.
Just a natural distraction you're going to bring.
I feel like the Patriots organization would be able to temper that a little bit.
I do, and I do think a better fit for him, because Brady's 41, and although he's going to play to his mid-40s.
However, don't you think that Colin's going to want to go somewhere where he can be the man,
start and get paid? I mean, obviously, if the AAF tried to get him and he wanted $20 million, he's not. I don't know if he'll be content to go somewhere and sit and be somebody's backup.
That is a good point. And finally, let's talk about your Cowboys to finish out.
All right.
Talking about quarterbacks, the Cowboys allegedly are interested in signing RG3 to back up Dak Prescott.
I didn't know that, but I love it.
Yeah. I love that too.
Love that.
Now, obviously, I have a little bias for RG3, him being a former Redskin. I hate that he got hurt. I know he was prone to injuries, but I really feel like he could have been a game changer in the NFL.
He was the answer for Washington's quarterback situation.
Yeah.
And the injuries derailed him. And I think he's a class act.
He is.
And I think he's a great player.
Yeah. On top of being a good player, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You never have to worry about him getting in trouble.
Right. That's right.
Family guy,
And what a great he could mentor Dak Prescott.
Yes.
And he's still good enough where if he had to play, he could get you some wins.
Absolutely. I see RG3 being a coach in some capacity moving forward.
He's a definite upgrade over anything on Dallas's roster right now behind Dak.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Jason Garrett.
Put
him in there.
That's right.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys need a new coach.
That's right, player coach.
Absolutely. It's not unprecedented.
No, it's not.
So, all right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Ross Rundown. Of course, we appreciate everybody tuning in this week and every week. One more time, congratulations to the North Carolina Tar Heels getting that huge victory over Duke. Sorry, Duke fans, we had to do it.
Not sorry.
Yes, sorry, not sorry. But that's going to do it again. For Brandon Fall, I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here next week for another edition of the Ross Rundown. Have a great week.